Welcome everyone. My name is Laurent Perrin. So I'm part of the Orange business in charge of connectivity product management.
I have to stand in front of the mic, that's why I'm moving. I'm Emmanuel David from Orange Cyber Defense. So I'm a product manager of some of our managed security services and also leading, I would say, our product strategy around the SASE topic.
So SASE is indeed a quite hot topic. There is lots of talk about it. When we talk with analysts and with customers, we already hear quite different things from them. Some are saying it's something that they do already for years, nothing new, and some others are saying it's a revolution. So we see lots of different point of view. What we can say, it's a subject of debate, but it's quite interesting. So the topic today is really what we want to do with you is to go through the myths of SASE and explain what we see as the reality behind those myths and the way we can onboard this holistic approach around SASE. So just to start with and to set the scene, what is the difference between myth and reality? So actually we found this quote from an American mythologist called John Lynch saying that the difference between myth and reality is the same as the difference between seeing a photograph of a person or meeting them in person. And you can see the picture of the baby, and we know quite well as parents that it's very different to have a picture and to be with the baby in person. So now let's start and look at these photos about SASE. What are the myths that we are hearing about SASE? Actually, we found 3 recurring ideas when we look at what analysts are writing, what is communicated in our world. The first one is that there is one model fits all. And actually what's behind that, it's SASE, in fact, would be a technical solution that would be able to solve all organizational problems related to the merge and the convergence of network and security. The second one is that everything should go in the cloud and security should be the same as other IT applications. And even with moving everything in the cloud, you would be able to keep the same level of security in your enterprise. And the last one is that zero trust would be the ultimate goal. As you may know, so zero trust was invented by a digital native company. And some people think that with zero trust, you can definitely get rid of your corporate network. So, Emmanuel, what do you see as the real points and the reality behind these 3 concepts?
Well, we see indeed some different elements, some things that are quite relative. When we look at the drivers of why our customers considering SASE technologies, one of the typical elements you probably all heard about was indeed the fact that remote work has become a reality and that without that we had to choose for it. It was really something that overnight happened to us. But yeah, we are some time later and we still see that remote work is a fact and one of the main drivers of considering SASE. Now, next to that, we also see that the evolution of the network keeps coming to us. So a lot of our customers are reconsidering the way that they use the network and most importantly, the way that those networks are working for them. So what the performance they can get from those networks. So optimization of those things is also one interesting driver we see. And for both of them, actually, there is no one single answer to those questions. So one size fits all, we don't really believe in that. There is a different answer for different questions, really. Now, on the cloud subject, for sure, it has speed up things, what happened in the last year, that a lot of customers are considering, indeed, moving more and more resources to the cloud. It's also a fact that there are still quite some resources locally. So we still have the hybrid world, really, for most customers we talk to, which means that you cannot go all the way to cloud. I mean, there are some few examples, but are really limited. So the hybrid is really the mainstream way to go, I would say. So you have to support that too. So having everything in the cloud, probably not. You have to combine still things on premises for certain cases, and it's really typically a combination that you will need. Still, we see vendor consolidation as one of the main drivers. So that's really one of the main ones of considering SASE. There were a lot of technologies in the past. I mean, I'm in the security world for some years now, but we have to admit there are really a lot of solutions on the market, and our customers really have to deal with that. So how do you manage all those solutions? So consolidation is, I would say, the natural answer to that, and SASE can help into that for sure. Now, zero trust, yeah, again, nothing new with zero trust. It exists for more than 10 years. But actually, when we talk to customers, we see that what they're looking for is an easier way to be compliant or to prove that they're compliant with what they need to comply with. And again, the more security tools you have, the more difficult it is to prove that. So there again, if you combine vendor consolidation with the compliance strategy you need to put in place, probably you find a fit with SASE technologies. Still, Zero Trust is interesting and keeps evolving, by the way. And I'll say a few words later in the presentation on this. So having a Zero Trust strategy as a company is still a driver to go to SASE because it's easier to do it with it than without it. So for that reason, indeed, it is also one of the drivers. Now, I have some work for you because probably had some slides already today. So we want to make that session a bit more interactive. So first question for you, and I would propose to raise hands. Have you already deployed SASE technology? So who says yes on that question? Nobody. All right, that's interesting. That's interesting. Who's considering that in the next 12 months?
Good.
A bit more. Okay. I'll start to wonder why you came to the session, but anyway, is it still a miss for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, even more people. Oh, that's even more interesting.
We have some work to do.
Okay, so we definitely need to talk. There is reality behind the myth, so that's what we want, hopefully, to convince you with. But yeah, having said that, we see also that the adoption of SASE technologies, there's no one way to do it. So we really don't believe into that. So there's no one size fits all, but there's also not one way to go to SASE. So what you typically need to do first is analyze everything and to plan. Because it is a transformation project, that's for sure. And when you say that, that means that, you have to consider what is your current situation on different levels, and we will come back on that. And based on that analysis, then you have to decide the next step. One of the elements you will look at, of course, is the network situation. So did you already deploy SD-WAN technologies? Yes or no? Depending on the answer, you have to analyze, do you need those? Yes or no? Depending on the answer, do you need to combine that with security technologies, etc. So that starting point will, of course, determine how you build up your roadmap. Now, something really important when you're doing that is that we're actually talking about two teams typically, at least for the bigger companies, two teams which are dealing with that, the networking team and the security team, and they don't always talk to each other as they should. And it's no accident that we say we are presenting this together, so on our side, we did the same thing, building up synergies between our teams. And I think it's really important if you're considering SASE. It is a combination of network and security technologies, and for that reason, you really have, I would say, on human level to make sure that those teams work together and come up with, and that's the third point, on a common design. Because if they don't match, the result will be, I would say, hard to predict, really. So that's really an important element to bring also the people and the teams together. Now, the design aspect is, of course, important and has to be based on your business requirements. Because, yes, we're talking about technologies, but actually, at the end of the day, you're trying to make the life easier for your end user, typically. And to have better connectivity and securing those connectivities, I would say, a uniform way. So design is really an important element and will help you also build your roadmap. Now, the mindset is probably something that needs to evolve. You probably heard that for years now for the cloud technologies. It's actually the same for SASE. You need to evolve in the way that you think about it and the way that you do architectures. So we used to do that on security with, okay, I have a data center with my main applications and I will protect that with security technologies. We all know it has evolved. So for that reason too, on a SASE architecture, you need to think otherwise, and typically you think from the user point of view and not anymore from the data center point of view. So what the user needs access to, how do you need to secure that, what kind of sensitivity of data is he trying to reach, etc. And built on that, you build up your architecture and your security policies. But still, the network, I said, you need to work on the team synergies, but network connectivity itself is still important. Yes, for sure, more and more customers are moving away from MPLS and going to a full internet connectivity, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be a business-grade connectivity. You still need to do your business at the end of the day. So having the right connectivity for the right usage is, of course, as important as all the rest I already said. But then, Another element we see is the evolution of the remote access. I said this was one of the main drivers. Typically, the zero trust is easier to do starting there if you're doing it with SASE. So zero trust network access is the way to do it in that case. It is one of the elements, I would say the most visible one. It's not the only one, but still, yeah, it is, as I said, the most visible one in that approach. And yeah, I'll talk later a bit more elements. Now, we also know, and probably you noticed that in the last 2-3 years or so, that those technologies and even the name or the definition of SASE has evolved. That means that actually you have to be ready for change if you're on board that journey. Because a continuous improvement process has to be from day one ready, because we know for a fact that it will keep evolving. So there's no one solution you will use for 5 years. That doesn't exist anymore. So you have to be ready for change and be ready to support, I would say, the evolution that will come in the future. And the last element, which is also somehow related to change, that's actually the automation aspect of SASE. It's important also, if you have the possibility, and again, it's something you have to see based on your situation and your roadmap, but it's important to automate more and more things. Just for the simple reason, it will help you be faster on adapting to change. And we see, I would say, different approach to this. AI and machine learning will probably more and more in the future help us doing that. But even apart from that, just having, I would say, the right process and, again, mindset is important there. But yeah, enough said about the journey. Let's go into a bit more details about the element building up a SASE setup. So let's start with the network piece and SD-WAN. Laurent, can you tell us more?
Thank you, Emmanuel. So indeed, SD-WAN is the first piece, and it's a key pillar in this SASE transformation. So as you may know, we have been working with customers since over the last 5 years to help multinational companies transform their network to SD-WAN. Today we have about 100 customers using the technology. The main initial driver were to optimize the end user experience when moving to cloud applications, and also to get a cost-effective technology to manage the growth of the bandwidth on the networks. So what we see today is quite a big change also in the demand and the expectation for SD-WAN. Actually, there has been a strong evolution in the usage. First, the hybrid working that is becoming the new normal. Second is the use of cloud that is now at scale. So these two topics make that the technology that was initially meant to connect site to site, now it's more to connect user to applications. So quite a big difference. And actually what we are starting to do with several customers is to work on this new generation of SD-WAN network that will completely fit this cloud native environment. And on this topic, I think we have identified four main topics on which we are working and that are the key pillars of this evolution. The first one is a composable approach. We heard about it, about evolution platform. I will come back to it a bit later as well. So the idea is really to be open to a wider number of vendors. So we have vendors in our catalog. We have started some years ago. We are extending these vendor capabilities. And we also are able to integrate new vendors based on your requirements, meaning that we are really open to support various SD-WAN technologies and integrate it with the rest of our ecosystem, the network and other services. The second topic is the digital native approach. So we are also moving in this area to simplify the ordering process, to move to a digital process. That's the first step. And also to simplify the delivery with zero-touch provisioning technologies. So this one, again, will hugely simplify the deployment on site and reduce the lead time to deliver the services. On top of that, we are extending the co-management capabilities, and we know that co-management is somehow the normal request from our customers on SD-WAN. So we are giving the full co-management capabilities using the capabilities of our partners, of our vendors, through consoles or through APIs. Third topic is about the global design of the network. So we believe that we should move to a borderless approach. And what I mean by that is that there should be no more frontier between the cloud and the network, and we should think it globally from the user to the application in the cloud. This is now possible because we are able from our network to extend and to provide on-demand connectivity to cloud providers, but we are also able to combine it with the technology from the SD-WAN vendors to extend the SD-WAN inside the cloud, and also, last but not least, to interoperate with cloud networking softwares, dedicated cloud networking softwares, in order to maintain the connectivity from the user to the applications and between the application as well. You may have heard about it if you already saw the breakout on cloud networking. Last topic, security. So SD-WAN should be secured by design. And in fact, on SD-WAN, our objective is to provide the right mix between on-premises security, including in the SD-WAN device, and that's what we are working with all our partners, and also cloud-based security. And when we talk about cloud-based security, we are definitely at the heart of this SASE approach. And the objective, seen from the SD-WAN point of view, is to simplify the interoperability between the SD-WAN solution and the cloud security solution. This can be from a single vendor, but we are able also to provide the best of breed solution, combining one SD-WAN vendor with another SASE vendor. So we are back to the questions, hoping we have interesting feedback on this one. So about the SD-WAN itself, so where are you on your SD-WAN journey? So please raise your hand again. Is it something already done for you? Yeah. Thank you, Miguel.
If I may comment quickly, so that means that you were actually already done some SASE technologies. But anyway.
Part of it.
Part of it, right?
It's the first pillar.
So
it's the first step.
SASE for some years. That's
it's the first step. Are you planning to a transformation of this SD-WAN network, or maybe moving to a new generation of SD-WAN in the SD-WAN network? Is it already something that you are looking at? Not yet.
Almost.
Almost. Do you plan? Probably not on this one. Unified SASE. So unified SASE is really the idea to have a single vendor for both the SD-WAN and the SASE. Is it something that you already heard about it, and is it something of interest for you? I know we have one guy in the room, but only one. And last one, you don't use SD-WAN. Are there some of you not using SD-WAN yet? Okay, so we see majority of answers is SD-WAN is already there, so which is a good news because it's the first pillar to move to SASE. So we can continue this presentation with the next elements, Emmanuel. And indeed, we have been talking about SD-WAN. SD-WAN is great, but it's not working without the right network. And with the evolution of the usage, with the move to public cloud applications, Internet is not a network of choice to deploy SD-WAN and to deploy SASE as well. So what are we doing to support that and to provide the right connectivity for your cloud application? The first point is that we are extending the capability of our backbone. We are making it stronger and bigger by merging all our global capabilities inside a single network. We used to have a network for Orange Business, but also capabilities for Orange Wholesale. So we are making it a single network with more capacity, more coverage, and more peering agreements with the other internet providers. And this peering agreement, we are doing it at two levels, globally with the very large network providers, but also regionally to ensure that we can optimize the connectivity for any of your sites. Based on that, we are able to bring a very rich catalog of internet solutions. It can be based on connectivity directly on our backbone to provide the best-in-class performance directly on this infrastructure, but it can be also through partners, and actually we have 250 partners for internet connectivity worldwide, which are selected based on their capacity to deliver and on the performance they are bringing to our customers. And with this kind of approach, we are providing a rich catalog with this level of service that is adapted to each of your sites, meaning that we can really adapt to find the right mix in terms of performance and cost effectiveness to support any kind of site profile in your network. Last but not least, but to simplify the approach as well, we are also moving to a digital journey for the internet connectivity. And the first step is to help you decide and finding what is the right solution for your site with an online quoting tool that will be able to allow you to help you select the right connectivity based on simple criteria. So it is about the location, it is about the performance required, it is about the price, the lead time to deliver. And based on that, in a few clicks, we are able to define for you to propose to use some connectivity and some ISPs that will cover your requirement. Based on this approach, we'll also move in a second step with a full digital journey, including the ordering. So now that we have been talking about this network foundation, let's go back to the security and see how SASE will bring this 360 security to corporate networks, Emmanuel.
Indeed. I guess you know that SASE is indeed the security part of SASE. We see typically 3 use cases we need to be able to cover with those kind of technologies. The first one is, I would say, the most used or historic ones, I don't know how to call it, is securing the internet access of the users. And remember, user-centric mentality. So given that those users are anywhere with any kind of device, you need indeed to be able to protect those in any circumstances, right? Now, next to that, again, it's not all moved to the cloud, the resources that a company is trying to reach, or the user of a company are trying to reach. So for that reason, a secure private access is still really a key element of an SSE solution. So that indeed you can secure those access to your internals resources this time. But with the evolution indeed that it's not anymore a VPN giving you to the full set of resources you have internally, but actually controlling what every user is able to do on which application and having those zero trust network access principle put in place thanks to those technologies. So there is indeed evolution in how you do that. And the last element, actually, which is also an evolution of things we have seen, because for the internet access, we used to use proxies and you are featuring those kind of technologies. VPN, as I said, for private access. And I would say the first generation of CASB for protecting the access to the cloud applications. But actually what you're trying to achieve there is not only giving access to those applications, but controlling what the user are doing within those applications. So that indeed you can evolve to controlling that and maybe going even a step further, controlling the data they're using in those applications and having the data leakage protection kind of policies put in place thanks to that. Now, these are all hopefully interesting security features, but you also know that the more security features you activate, the more your user will complain that they have to activate a lot of tools to start working, or that the performance is degrading, etc. So actually what we see also with those technologies of SSE is that the digital experience management is also part of the solution. So that your end user, again, end user-centric mentality, your end user, you'll be able to spot much more rapidly if something indeed is degrading at some point in time and to know why it's degrading. Because it's not always the security element, it's not always the network, sometimes it's just the resource provider who has problems. So if you know that, then you know what to answer to end user and to support your user. But being able to measure that and to pinpoint much more rapidly is really the key message here. Now, all of that, we received that with, I would say, our nice, friendly vendors that we have here outside that can help us provide those technologies. Now, we believe that we can add more to that, so it's not enough. The first element we'd like to add to that is, okay, you have those technologies, they are in a lot of cases out of the cloud, nice, but how do you configure that? How do you make sure you get the right level of access for your end users? How do you make sure you're respecting your own security strategy and policy? So how do you customize that to your specific needs is the question. And that's really a first really important element. Any technology will not do miracles. It has to be applied to your situation and your needs. Now, once it's running, okay, it's applicable for what you need. But then you have to decide how you want to run it and to operate it. There again, we want to be flexible. If you decide, okay, I trust on cyber defense, you can run it for me, that's fine, we can do that. If you decide, okay, let's maybe share, I would say, the responsibility in operating that, because the day-to-day elements, I'd like to do that myself, that's possible too. So it's again something where we want to be flexible in, and the same is true, by the way, for the digital experience management. How do you want to control the result of those technologies is also something we need to decide together. But at the end of the day, we're talking about security technologies. So the last element is really key. I don't know if you followed just the session of Charles on the evolution of that, and how big, I would say, is the challenge. But in any case, the threat landscape is something we all know keeps evolving really fast and is difficult to manage, really. So for that reason, we decided, and you heard the word intelligence, the presentation of Charles, at least for those who are attending. So we decided to inject our threat intelligence knowledge within those solutions. And I think that's really an important element, because it's changing so rapidly. If you don't have any way to automate that information, then you're always behind, basically. Next to that, we also want to stay close to our customers in those definitions. Because yes, we will customize that at the start of the project for them. That's all nice. But we all know everything keeps changing. And everything is the threat landscape, so you need to adapt your threat policies according to that, but also your business, because we all know it's changing all the time, right? And again, a security solution you put in place has to adapt to your business. So for that reason, our experts are sitting regularly with you to make sure that your threat policies are still what you're looking for. Now, SASE hopefully is something that you might be interested in, but still it's only one piece of your global security architecture. And we said it is really an evolution and a transformation you need to do, but then what about your existing architecture? What about your existing principles? So you need to be able to integrate with that too. And that was also mentioned in the security presentation in the main session, that detection is really a key element there. Because the more efficient you are at detection and response related to that, of course, the better you are on a security level. Because yes, it's important to have the right security protection in place, but then it will generate detection. So what do you do with it is the question. So integration with that is key. Another element is that typically you do that for business reason, not for the sake of security, even though we might like that, but we know that's not the reason. So it's for business reason, which means that you have probably other projects running, being improving your OT security or IoT security, doing more things in the cloud and having other cloud security tools in place. So, and maybe also by doing on-premises elements. So all of that needs to be integrated in your global security architecture. And I think it's really important not to forget that SASE will not solve everything, as we said in the myth at the start. It is integrating within your security architecture, and you have to do it the right way. Now, having said that, can you maybe give us a concrete examples on
Yes, indeed. So
projects?
we have quite an interesting example of a global SASE transformation that we made for global customers in the manufacturing area. It's a world leader in mineral-based specialties, 15,000 employees worldwide and 40 countries. So they came from a quite complex networking situation with several network providers all over the world, several technologies as well. Their need was really to simplify, to optimize the performance for the user with the move to public cloud. They see a very big growth of the traffic on their network. They see also in the area lots of merger and acquisition, so the need to really be able to move quickly and to integrate quickly new users in their infrastructure. So what we have done, what we have achieved for them is first really a simplification of the vendor ecosystem. So we moved to one single network globally, so we manage their network globally. We simplified also the technological area with a single vendor for the SD-WAN and the SSE. So this one selected Palo Alto as a unique vendor for the global technology. So globally, it optimized the operational cost because we have this single management approach, simplified management approach, including the network and the security. We are actually supporting the acceleration of the cloud usage. We are helping them move from MPLS to internet progressively. So they're starting the first step, they're keeping MPLS and they progressively move to an internet-based network. So this indeed will help increase the end user satisfaction, especially with the collaboration application. And we are really in a complete state-of-the-art design for SASE because we are integrated both the SD-WAN and the SSE components. And globally, we also increase the level of security, in this case by combining on-site security for some specific sites, and we are in a manufacturing area, and cloud security as well. So single vendor, so same orchestration, allowing to simplify the management and the consistency of the security policies all over the network. And back to you, Emmanuel, for a question, I think.
Yes.
So maybe
another question, which is a bit provocative one, to be honest. So a first question on the SASE vendor. As you understood, we work with different vendors, and we want you to be able to support you with different vendors so that you have a choice. But let's name some, and please raise your hand if it is indeed your preferred SASE vendor. So let's start. We just mentioned Palo Alto. Who would consider Palo Alto as a preferred SASE vendor? Okay. Who would consider Fortinet? Okay. Who would consider Netscope? Okay. Who would consider Cisco? Okay. And who would consider Zscaler? Okay, so we have really a mix.
Yeah.
somehow confirming that we need to support more than one, for sure. And I think it's really important also that, yeah, there is, again, we said that about SASE, but that's true also for the SASE. There's no magic answer. So depending indeed on different elements, one solution might be indeed more fit for you than another. Now, we also talked about that already, but what is your strategy on indeed SD-WAN and SASE technology? So are you more on the best of breed side? So you want to have the best for SD-WAN and the best for SASE? No one. That's interesting. Okay. So I guess you're all for a full suite of SASE then. Or you're all tired. That's the other solution. All right, I move on.
It's too late.
All right, a few words on Zero Trust. I will not go deep because I probably can talk hours about this. But just a few words on if you are considering to have a Zero Trust strategy, things you have to keep in mind. One, again, just like for SASE, you have to consider your current situation. And we typically see three levels of maturity in a SASE approach. The traditional one, I would say, is the legacy, old-fashioned, I don't know how to call it. You do everything manually. So you have put things in place, you configure everything manually, you have different departments for doing that, and you have static security policies. You probably understand from the way I'm telling that it's not the ideal situation because we all confronted with a lot of change. So you need a lot of people to support that, right? So the next step is indeed enhancing that. Enhancing that in first, making the groups working better together. I mentioned that for SASE. That's even more true for Zero Trust approach. Because you have to make sure that your process you have in place for the different technologies and different domains you're covering are indeed converging to one way of doing things and one way to collaborate, okay? You have to also to start automating things because indeed you want to be able to catch up with change. So that enhanced level is typically starting to do that, starting to centralize a lot of information related to this so that indeed you're able to evolve in that direction. Now the optimal, and that's really a holy grail to be honest, but still it's interesting to move into that direction, is to have dynamic policies. So everything in your environment is dynamic based on what's happening. So you have really good things in place to analyze what's happening, and you have put up a lot of automation to make sure that when that's happening, your security policies get dynamically changed according to this. No, it's all nice. It's all, I would say, wishful thinking sometimes. But you still need an infrastructure, which is the right one, to support those evolutions. Because Zero Trust without the right infrastructure will not work. It's that easy. So one element is identity related. And that's a bit outside of the SASE topic, but it is key to it though. If you don't have the right identity governance in place, so defining identities, defining who has access to what, and be able to revisit that regularly, so making sure that it's still the right access for the right people, then probably your security is not much worth. Because again, things change, people change job, people leave sometimes, and they still have access. I mean, we've seen a lot of cases like that. Next to that, the perimeters. And you heard that a million times, I guess. Perimeters has disappeared, it doesn't exist anymore. Honestly, I don't believe that. It exists much more than it used to be. Just in a lot of places, that's the difference. So software-defined perimeters is nothing else than being able to more dynamically define those perimeters and protecting yourself at the right place at the right time. And I think that should be part of your Zero Trust thinking. All of this, of course, is to make sure that, again, the detection is as efficient as possible. So if you have a suspicious activity, you want to make sure you detect that as rapidly as possible and that in some case you automate the response or at least that you have someone working rapidly on it. And that's the last point you need to consider within that Zero Trust. Because again, Zero Trust is nothing else than you don't trust anything. So you have to check all the time what's happening. That's really the idea. Now, having said that, and that's a bit forward thinking what I'm saying here, talking about forward thinking, can you tell us a bit more? And I know you heard some things, but we'll have another angle for you for the evolution platform and why it can be interesting for you.
So, indeed, you heard already a bit about evolution platform today, and Pierre-Marie presented the concept and the benefits that we expect to bring with evolution platform. So let me come back very quickly to explain what is behind the concept and how it works with the drawing. In fact, evolution platform is built on three different key pillars. The first one is the network itself, the backbone. So I mentioned that we have made it bigger and more with more performance than ever with this merge of all the capacity that we have globally. So that's the first point, so this global network. The second point is the POPs that we are putting on this network. So it's a new generation of POPs, points of presence, bringing more intelligence. We are making them, on one side, closer to the users. The idea to be very close from the users, and on the other side, very close from the applications. And the function of these POPs is, on one side, to collect the traffic from the site and the user, using the right internet connectivity, and you can see that you can select the right grade, the right level of service according to your site. Transit, ensure the transit inside the backbone between regions, for example, to ensure the best performance if you have to connect traffic between different regions. And last but not least, also to connect to the cloud, so direct connectivity to cloud provider. And what we are adding inside the point of presence is the capability to virtualize services inside the infrastructure. So this can be security service, network services, IoT gateways. So we have several applications that we see that can come in this area. So as I said, we are willing to have those POPs very close from the user and from the applications. That's why we are moving today. We have 40 POPs, but we plan to move to 100 POPs, so to make them closer from the users especially. And what we are doing on top of that, and Pierre-Marie already shared about it, it's the orchestration. It's really the intelligent piece of this infrastructure. So the aim of the orchestration is really to ensure that we transform our network. We want our network to behave like a cloud, so that you consume services from the network the same way you can do it with an hyperscaler. So this orchestration will actually allow to deploy services automatically inside this infrastructure in a few minutes, to chain them together, for example, combine SD-WAN, security, and other services, and to ensure the end-to-end management of the service as well. So we combine these different pieces, so the network itself, the point of presence, the orchestration, and at the end of the day, it allows us to manage the performance on an end-to-end basis from the user to its application. So we believe actually that it's a great opportunity for security services. We mentioned, and Emmanuel, you mentioned that SASE is a journey. So in this journey, maybe you can explain a bit more how we will use Evolution Platform to support the evolution of our SASE services.
Yes, indeed. So if we apply those principles to SASE technologies, what do we gain from that? And you see, I cannot move because I have to stay to the mic. Anyway, you see on the left the way that we're using actually for years. So we intend to connect the Orange network with the infrastructure of the SASE provider. And of course, it is a possibility and something, as I said, we do for years. And you can integrate that with, for example, an SD-WAN infrastructure. But actually, we want to go a step further with Evolution Platform by hosting that SASE technology at the same place. So that actually you will be inside the Orange network with your SASE technology. Which means that you gain what we call a single pass effect. So that the traffic being from a site, from an end user, all those combinations that you get, go through within that Orange network and gets checked with the SASE you've put in place, with everything I said before. So it's really the same technology we want to host there, managed by us the same way. So there's no difference there. It's really where it is and all the traffic flow will run that will be a difference. But thanks to that, we have that single pass effect, so you go through and you do your security check as you want them to be done. But also we can guarantee much more the end result for the user. Because instead of having the user going to the Orange network, then having his traffic sent to that SASE provider, and then going back to the Orange network, you just go with the flow, if I might say so. So that single pass effect. And you can control much more the SLAs and the performance that your user will get at the end. So that's really an important element. But all the rest stays the same. For example, integration of artificial intelligence, what we can add with our expert, etc. All of that stays the same. We have the scalability effect, of course, of that infrastructure. So we have that hyperscaler effect, if I might call it like this, that we gain. But indeed, within the Orange network and with the control of that Orange network capabilities. Now, can you maybe tell us how concretely we are working on that subject today?
This is not only a dream, this is becoming a reality. And actually, we are testing it. We are testing it with customers. We are entering in the pilot phase. And one of the first use case that we are doing is a SASE with Fortinet technology. And actually, it's for a customer in the manufacturing area, global customers, that we have accompanied in the transformation since over the last 5 years, coming from hybrid network to SD-WAN. So SD-WAN with a Fortinet technology encompassing both the SD-WAN and the security in a single box. So already quite an important evolution aligned with this SASE journey. And now they are moving to the next steps with the FortiSASE, and the objective for them is to extend the security to the end user in the context of extended hybrid working, delivering the same and the consistent security policies for the end user on one side. And on the other side, because we are integrated this SASE technology inside our backbone, we are able to manage the connectivity between the end users and the sites and the application of the customer in a very effective manner. So the platform, the Evolution platform, will manage the interoperability between the different services and ensure finally that the transformation and the evolution is very smooth for the customer, moving from his existing remote access solution to this FortiSASE without any disruption. So it's really about also facilitating the adoption of those new technology, adapt the pace of the transformation to the customer requirements, to the business requirements. We think also that with this platform and by moving these technologies inside our infrastructure, we will simplify and de-risk the migration and in overall optimize the operational efficiency for our customers. So really this is a great example, and actually we will be starting the pilot in the next 2 weeks. So really first operational customers with this technology.
So I guess it's time to summarize that session and liberate you. One element is we want to not only do SASE, but do SASE advanced. And what we mean by that is really supporting the journey the way that you want to be supported in it. And it's a combination of having the multiple knowledge we have within Orange, so the network knowledge with Orange Business and the security knowledge with Orange Cyber Defense, but also the different vendors we can support and the integration between those vendors. Because in the discussion we had, there are not a lot of you who want to go all the way with one SASE vendor. So those combinations will stay for some time, we believe, and we need to be able to support that. Still, we want you to have a coherent experience. That you decide to do everything in one project, or you decide to do that in a project of 2 years, or that you have another approach. We want to be coherent, and again, that you're starting to work with Orange Business or Orange Cyber Defense. It shouldn't make a difference for you. So the seamlessness, is that still English anyway? It has to be seamless for you, that's maybe better. Whatever you want to take that project. And again, we don't believe that technology alone will solve your problems. So we want to be able to provide value add on that, customize that for your needs, and making sure that the deployment, but also the running phase are the way that you want it to be, and not something we impose to you, that's the way or nothing. So that's also important to keep flexibility on that level. And as you understood from the slide on the Evolution platform, we want to keep innovating on those subjects. So we think we can go even more step further, and we want to take that with you really. So we explained, I would say in this session, any of those sessions, what we mean. But I think it's important that you give us feedback on that too, and that we can evolve, I would say, together in the right direction on those elements, so that indeed we can support those technologies, but also support it, the way that you want it to be.
Orange Business.